skyways that they have in Minneapolis, right? And you could folks would never have to just have like a commissary right in the middle. And people could stop off, get the food, ding, ding, ding. Keep walking, come back, eat, go back home, well, just like that.
Is de Blasio running for a third term?
I don't know.
I mean, that is a great sort of micro expression of progress. That in 2013 when he ran, a nice enough liberal campaign and was bold that he was even just saying there's a major inequality crisis in New York City,
people thought
Quinn
was going to win.
And people thought that Christine Quinn was going to win, who now she works for Cuomo now. And so, I mean, yeah, if he gets challenged from somebody saying we need to do something about, say, rent control and we need to kill this Amazon deal, that's great. That's another good movement.
Oh, and P.S., the building trades unions that support this deal are not going to care. I love them. I actually have insurance through one of them, but no, their guys are still going to get their union rates to do all this work. And but you know what? We'll see.
All right, let's. Do you need to go?
Yeah, I should get going. I'll see everybody tonight. Looking forward to it. And illicit history this weekend on CLR James and identity politics. Yesterday, Bill Fletcher Jr. and I talked about the anti-austerity movements in Zimbabwe and Sudan, and there was extended coverage on Venezuela.
All right.
We're
going to play one more clip, and then we'll get out of here soon. Anyway.
Okay, I got to go. All right, patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.
Michael doesn't even say goodbye anymore. That's the way he says goodbye to anybody.
That's how I say goodbye.
That's also the way he answers his telephone.
What are you guys doing tonight? You going bowling?
There's Michael's got a show at the Bell House. Oh. Now, all right, let's play this clip from AOC. It's interesting. It's what is shocking about this for me is that why have I been doing this for 15 years and this is the first time I'm hearing a clip of a politician say this in a hearing. It's so. It's either yes, we've had bad research team. That could possibly be it. Now we have great researchers, or I've been really just spinning my wheels for the better part of really my adult life. So either way, it's a little bit sad in that way. But when I get past the sadness, I'm overjoyed to hear that we have someone sitting in Congress who's willing to present this case, which is a fairly obvious case. Here's AOC asking a doctor if the public gets any return on investment from the research which subsidizes all drug development. And I will say this too, I got an email from Bill Lazanik, who we've talked about quite a bit in the past, particularly in the context of stock buybacks and of capital gains taxes and what that's done to the modern corporation in this country. And he had seen the clip about Davos with the guy from Dell. And he said he sent a couple of papers, I haven't dug into them, about how much we provided the platform and the foundation as a society, specifically through our government, for Michael Dell to make all his money in computing. But here is Ocasio-Cortez making the same point in the context of drugs.
Would it be correct, Dr. Kesselheim, to characterize the NIH money that is being used in development and research as an early investment?
Yes.
So the public is acting as an early investor in the production of these drugs. Is the public receiving any sort of direct return on that investment from the highly profitable drugs that are developed from that research?
No, in most cases, there isn't. When those products are eventually handed off to a for-profit company, there aren't licensing deals that bring money back into the coffers of the NIH. That usually doesn't happen.
So the public is acting as early investor, putting tons of money in the development of drugs that then become privatized, and then they receive no return on the investment that they have made.
Right.
That seems a little messed up.
Yeah, that's how they do it over there.
It's apparently the way you do it. You get the dumb money as the seed investment, and then the way you take all the profits.
Yeah, public risk for private profit. That's
Indeed.
the American way.
That's because in the UK the government doesn't have any operation to actually manufacture the pharmaceuticals. Is that right?
Wait, we're talking. This is from the United States.
This is the U.S.?
That came from the United States. That was the Senate. Ocasio-Cortez is not a member of Parliament.
No,
She's
I
a member
thought
of
she might have
Congress.
brought a British guy over
No.
to talk about the British system.
No, that guy was an American who worked
blanking.
There you go.
God, it's really like I keep hammering on this because I think it's so important when we talk about neoliberalism. It's not just free markets, because if you let the free markets be free, they would fail. Neoliberal capitalism is a Hugh Hefner Viagra boner of capitalism on life support from governments who tinker around so that we can have a market.
But this isn't. I mean, this is not. This is the way that it was structured and built. I mean, this isn't a new phenomenon. This is not. In fact, what we're seeing is socialism. It just ends before our society gets the benefit, right? Because the support, I think it's perfectly legitimate that we have a government, and I think it's something we want that develops these drugs and that promotes
but then
these
they
research.
hand it over.
Right. That's not neoliberalism. I mean, it is to a certain extent. I mean, I guess it's more the classical version, right? That they were figuring out at Mont Pelerin. But the idea is that this is not coming from market. This is completely, there is an absence of a market at that first level.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And so this is the problem here is just simply that we're giving away stuff as a society. I mean, it doesn't
Taking from the public and giving to private companies.
Indeed.
That seems like a thing that happens more in the neoliberal period.
What's been happening? I mean, socializing the risk and privatizing the profits has been going on. Really, I mean, since the founding of this country. I mean, we did it in the context of I can't remember that book about why we have a standing military and. What was the autumn? Was it?
That was Autumn of the Black Snake. And during the Revolution, for instance, the mythology of the Minuteman who just had his rifle was played up a lot for popular effect because cannons, which were the big decisive thing, were required state investment. So like even back then they were aware of like we need to boost this more independent sort of entrepreneurial thing and not the state.
Right. I mean, this is I think like a deeper. This is deeper than the idea of neoliberalism. What it is it is a way of shrouding and creating some type of narrative that markets are not a function of the state. They are. They exist because of the state. Currency is a function of the state. Your money, they say it's not the government's money. Yeah, actually, it is the government's money. It's not your money. You can have it in the bank, but you're just renting it from the government, and you're renting it for the cost of your taxes. Is basically what it comes down to. And so this is just part and parcel of a fundamental misunderstanding of how just about everything that we have as a society is generated and established. And then, people get to walk away with the credit, and the credit in the form of often in times of just like huge profits. And, whether it's Michael Dell or Howard Schultz or whatever it is. I mean, Howard Schultz is whatever. Everything that built his company was undergirded and underwritten by our taxes.
I will admit, I maybe just wanted to use the phrase Hugh Hefner Viagra boner because I'm very proud of myself for coming up with it. But it certainly seems like this process has accelerated during this phase of capitalism.
That the boners are getting, the Viagra is even bigger.
Well,
more and more Viagra.
If we didn't have a free market, how could one visionary go to Italy, and see something and think, oh, I can just do this back at home in the United States.
What? Now, which?
Talking about Trump?
I'm
Oh,
talking
you mean
about
go
Howard
to-
Schultz.
Oh, going to.
That he writes about that in his book about
Oh,
where he
yeah.
got the idea for Starbucks. He literally goes to Italy and they're drinking coffee in a nice setting.
So he
that
steals
where
their
that's-
intellectual property.
Basically.
Yeah, so let's make this totally corporatized and put all of those small coffee shops out of business.
heavily subsidized those coffees. Those coffees in Italy too. I can imagine.
I thought you were going to say he copied Berlusconi.
Oh. Well, but maybe.
There you have
We
it.
also had these guys on for this book, if you remember, American Amnesia, how the war on government led us to forget what made America prosper. And that goes into sort of, especially technology, and how much of that was basically World War II era investment.
I forgot about that, having that book on, and appropriately so, as it is about America Amnesia.
But, even if, we can agree on that, how much of the modern world is built just through public investment. I wouldn't discount the fact that there is a great deal of private investment that is driven by the profit motive and markets and so on. I just don't think there has to be. For whatever pharmaceutical breakthroughs of private pharmaceutical capital can just be public breakthroughs. They can be used. You can use public capital for that.
Right. We have no doubt, but that's a function of just we've decided to make it one thing as opposed to another.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And I think the evidence that government can be just as effective at this is that because it's laid the foundation for so much of that. And you can also just look at the numbers, right? I mean, there's an X amount of dollars that are in research and development. And I would also argue that it can be made better because the number of medicines and just broadly speaking, devices that would increase our health that are simply not profitable to pursue.
Yeah.
That's, I think is extraordinary. I mean, I just think the Lyme vaccine is just one that always crops up because having lived in an area where there's a tremendous amount of Lyme, there was a Lyme vaccine in the 70s. It was maybe the 80s.
Or you have people with rarer and more difficult to treat conditions, or, you have a situation where someone has a condition that requires a lot of expensive medications in order to stay alive. There's no motive to break that up.
That's why we have a VA. We have a VA because there are unique injuries that come with having people who you send into war. And the private sector cannot deal with that because it's just not profitable enough.
And, in the United States, millions of decent people raise money to help find cures for various cancers and rare conditions and so on, often through these shady charities. And isn't that just a profound market failure? That is the way we have to finance finding a cure?
Not to mention, it doesn't matter what kind of drugs you have if people can't afford to buy them on the market. Like, we saw what happened with Martin Shkreli. Everyone hated him for jacking up the price of this life-saving drug. But, that is what the kind of behavior that is incentivized by this system. It doesn't make any sense on a human level.
Well, on that note, I think I want to say, Virgil, Texas, thank you so much for coming by. It was always a pleasure to have you here. People should go out and get your book, even though you didn't bring it with you today.
He did bring one.
You did.
I did bring
Why
one.
are you hiding it? I don't understand.
It's over there. I'm here.
All right.
Can I do another plug?
Of course.
Tune in to this Sunday during the big game for the Chapo Trap House Counter Super Bowl halftime show.
Really?
Yes.
Smart counter programming.
Yes, because it's what is it, Maroon 5 or some crap like that?
I have no idea.
It's going to be dog shit. Don't watch that. Watch our show, which is going to be bigger, and it's going to have bigger stars and bigger special effects. It's going to knock your socks off. And after that, we'll be streaming our coverage of the big game.
Oh, so you're going to be covering the game too?
We'll be covering the second half, yeah.
Interesting.
It's a counter power, if you will.
Where can people...
On the Chapo Trap House Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Chapo Trap House.
And so let me ask you this: how would they not take it down?
What?